This is Illumination's terrible Despicable Me 2. Oh boy, I'm about to upset a lot of childhoods with this one. Let's be clear, no, it is not the worst of the Despicable Me movies, but for my money at least, that's not really saying that much. From where I'm standing, this is a franchise with a decent first movie that has now mutated into an absolute financial juggernaut with diminishing returns on quality. Carried by a bunch of Tic Tacs that make for good cuddly toys and online Facebook memes 10 years ago. And so today we're going to be going back to 2013 where we got the first sequel to Despicable Me, the film that took it from movie to franchise. It's going to be worse than the original, but how much worse? Well, the very first thing they did was they made sure that Gru gets a love interest. The go-to for any sequel with a solo character who needs a new arc. All because from this second movie onwards, we're about to be faced with a franchise-long problem. Gru stops being a villain pretty much in that first movie, leading each installment to ride that villain but not villain tightrope from then on. And it never really gets solved. It just keeps kicking it down the lane, whilst also adding new characters every installment to the point that the fourth movie is so overbloated with too many characters. But hey, it's only one so far, so maybe it's not too bad. Throw in a weak who's the villain mystery that never is really a mystery, and a villain who actually had the groundwork there to be better than he was, and you have some semblance of a movie. But how did this actually pan out overall? How would this era of non-evil Gru begin? Well, in the case of this movie, we start with a similar cold open to the first one, except this time it is a literal cold open. In stark to the first Egypt-based opening, a polar opposite if you will. And the first thing to note is the animation is a lot better than that first movie's opening. One of the few things this movie does better, and generally throughout the franchise, the animation just looks so much better. Particularly here. That's what happens when the first movie's a success. You get a budget. This time we have a villain with a ship that's a giant magnet on the scene. It's actually really creative. No notes on that conceptually. Then it's time to meet the organization that this movie will center around, the Anti-Villain League.
Bring him in.
Yes, sir.
Which does finally address that there was absolutely no law enforcement in that first movie whatsoever, let alone heroes of any kind. Alas, this organization, who apparently just did nothing during the events of the first movie. We then cut to Gru, now reformed from his villainous ways. Again, kinda mad that they made 3 sequels out of this period where he's not even a villain anymore. It's fine. It does the job. It just reminds you early doors that they're going more kid-targeted than other animated fare we cover. Alas, jokes like this.
How come you're so fat?
My house is made of candy.
Alright, we're on this tier. But sure, Gru's being a good dad, that's cute. We love that for him. We're then introduced to what the central arc for this one's gonna be.
My friend Natalie is recently single.
That's right, Gru's getting a girlfriend in this one. And whilst incredibly predictable for the second movie, it does seem to be a natural progression for this character. Although admittedly, Ice Age 2 did it better. This wasn't going to be the franchise that challenged the norm on the single dad character fighting anything beyond a woman to help him. Though they do capture the badgering of single parents pretty accurately here.
Oh, I know someone whose husband just died.
I have it on good authority that this is pretty much how it goes for single parents in their social circles. And so, with that premise introduced, they pretty swiftly introduce who will be the target of that storyline.
Agent Lucy Wilde of the AVL. Oh, whoops.
As soon as that bit of quirkiness pops out, you know they're together by the end of the movie. Only kidding, the marketing already made that abundantly clear at the time. Yay! But I do appreciate this as a character with actual, if not literal, agency, and isn't just some randomer he meets. There's an actual plot function to introduce her, even if we know how ultimately she's gonna play into things here.
Lipstick taser.
She swiftly kidnaps Gru, allowing the Minions to enact a more cartoony version of Buzz chasing Al's car in Toy Story 2. You can probably guess which one I prefer. Though this one does have a moment that could be construed as the Ducks from Migration having a cameo 11 years before they got their movie. This scene gets a solid fun for the kids sticker for me anyway. As does her car turning into a submarine. I'm presuming some form of that was sold as a toy. The underwater sequence itself is also some solid animation. Again, a big step up from the first movie. But it also remains consistent with the wackier look of the Despicable Me universe. The giant hairdryer when they arrive in the submarine being particularly of note. Kinda like The Incredibles with Looney Tunes logic in a way. Before a stark reminder of what tier of humor we're dealing with.
Silas Ramsbottom.
Bottom.
And just as a reminder to how big of names they can get onto these projects, Steve Coogan has said that he got more money for voicing these few scenes with Ramsbottom than any other project he'd done around that time.
I don't care.
Onto a killer rabbit that is either a reference or a theft of Monty Python. And we have the movie MacGuffin that will ultimately lead to establishing the Minions' role in this story.
Experiments involving PX41, a transmutation serum.
Honestly, the bunny just killing everyone in the recording like that is pretty dark for this otherwise kids-lent movie. I mean, the dead guy's arm is still in frame in this shot. We've gone from sparkly princess party to this within 10 minutes. I mean, children do crave violence, so. But indeed, this is all groundwork to get those purple minions from the trailer. Though you're not going to see them for a good long while. The beginning of bloating the minions' role, realizing that they're the little yellow money bags for the studio. It was after this movie that we then got the Minions spin-off film franchise, where of course their role is never really bettered beyond the first movie, where the reason why they worked is because the story wasn't dependent on them. They were the comedy side characters that had little cutaways and moments as a reprieve from the main story. Here, they become the main story in a way, and we begin on the road to media oversaturation. All the way up to the mega minions we saw in 2024's movie, and all the toy variants you can ask for.
Okay, I see where this is going.
And of course, we also have the beginning of Gru's role as the ex-bad guy that he'll be tied to for sequels to come. It's just sticky, the storytelling they've cornered themselves into from here. But it functions, all his villainous gadgets being equally useful as a secret agent of sorts. It's just funny we have this franchise based around a villain character who's only a villain for a solid quarter of the franchise, if he's even in the franchise. You know, when the franchise that previously championed its adopted family premise went, nah, let's prioritize a biological baby now. You know, Gru's real child. There is something to be said that it's this core relationship that was what made the first movie work, and the sidelining has already begun, and maybe that's where all the magic left. But at least there's some of it in this second movie that doesn't make it as terrible as some of the other terribles we've done on this playlist. Again, I can see this being one of those episodes that is a little bit divisive because I don't have a mid category. When your only options are amazing or terrible, I'm gonna put the indifference of Despicable Me 2 into terrible. It might not be a rubbish heap, but it's got a lot of red flags, you gotta admit.
Why not? Are you scared?
To their credit, with scenes like this school flashback, they also make the romantic plot a central premise, where a lot of animated movies make it more of an extra padding. A sort of, oh yeah, main characters gets with the girl as well kind of thing. Here, it is at least the central emotional arc, after not immediately going for that in the first movie. The flashback goes as down the formula as you'd expect, though.
Lisa's got crudies!
But hey, they committed to this plotline and made some effort towards it.
I'm not scared of women or dates.
Also, this bit does get a "that was funny" point from me.
I know what makes you a boy. Your bald head.
Oh, yes.
Gru's dynamic with them is the emotional pull of this movie still. Again, which is why the fourth movie is particularly egregious. Speaking of egregious, it's at this point we're reminded that Russell Brand's in this movie.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it?
No.
And I guess we just have to deal with it.
There's something I've been meaning to talk to you about for some time now.
I'm now a born-again Christian who's done nothing bad in my life ever. Thankfully, what this actually is all about is Nefario going off on his own, meaning less of the movie where we have to listen to this creep. With him out of the picture for now, we go back to the Goyles, now pressuring Gru into finding a relationship.
And it's time for you to get out there.
He doesn't have to, guys. Keep your social norms to yourself. Okay, it's not that deep, and we ultimately learn Gru would like to be with someone and he's just afraid. I just wonder if peddling this everyone needs to find someone as soon as possible at kids is the best way to go about things. Oh well, let's just balance it with some movies of characters being secure without a spouse. Don't look at Secret Life of Pets 2 though. Don't look at the Mario movie. Don't look at Migration. Don't look at the Lorax. Well, at least you've got Hop. And I guess Sing in some places? And the Grinch. Okay, cool. That'll do. Anyway, Gru proceeds to begin his sales pitch to the audience on his new positioning as a character.
You're gonna be a spy?
Gru's back in the game with gadgets and weapons and cool cars.
Heading over to a cupcake shop, we enter the next phase of fleshing out the love interest.
Wasn't expecting that. Or was I?
And they do have a solid go in getting the full potential of Kristen Wiig's strengths in this character. Though at the same time, this character is a lot of fragments of different personalities. But I do like that she's the goof and Gru's the straight man in this dynamic.
I'm your new partner. Yay!
It's a refreshing dynamic from every other movie like this, where the sensible woman has to deal with the antics of the male character that gets to do all the funny stuff. Though you do have Dave the Minion getting the hots for her, but that's pretty funny, honestly. Somehow innocent. And so it is time to meet the villain of the piece. There he is. We're almost half an hour in already.
And I am going to need 200 of your best cupcakes.
I'd wager that half his personality is his accent, but this is the franchise where Gru is the main character, so I can't really say too much on that, can I? And just in case you didn't get what stereotype we're going with here, he wastes no time flaunting the Mexican flag on his belly.
Move away!
And though I want to say this is dangerous territory, I don't think there's actually been any controversies around it. Representation is representation, even if it's over-the-top cartoony, but I guess everyone in universe gets the same treatment. It's Punch-Out logic. Plus, historically, characters like Speedy Gonzales have been cancelled and then uncancelled by the Mexican community wanting to see themselves portrayed, one way or another.
El Macho.
But the flashback itself is enjoyable for its bombastic characterization of El Macho right up to his supposed death flying into a volcano on a shark. Which, I know it was meant to be a fake death, but what context even led him to doing that? This is when we enter the sort of spy plot, and it's not particularly strong, to be honest. They go to a mall a few times, don't really disguise themselves other than one time Gru's in a bin, meet a couple of suspects with not much ambiguity around the El Macho situation, the wrong one gets arrested, the other one then reveals themselves. It's not reinventing the wheel, and not very interesting. We're just waiting to get on with El Macho being the villain, because clearly he is. It's really what stops this movie from being good for me anyway. It's basically just a vessel for Gru and Lucy to get together by the end and kill some time whilst the purple minion things happen later. Still, we haven't actually gotten to that bit yet. Pacing. Which sure, make your movie about that. It doesn't mean the plot gets to run off being paper thin. Anyway, we swiftly move on to the next phase of Agnes guilt-tripping Gru into finding a mother figure by practicing for a Mother's Day show?
She kisses my boo-boos. She braids my hair. My mother is beyond compare.
Is that something that actually happens? It certainly doesn't in the UK, I can tell you that much. I'm just gonna go out on a whim and say that's not very common, and this is purely a framework for Gru to feel bad about needing a girlfriend. A girlfriend who now seems to be destined to have to accept the position of mum on acceptance of the relationship. It's a big ask.
I don't even have a mom.
Like, run, Lucy! Time for some minions mucking about. Hard to keep up with what's actually going on, there's so damn many of them. I like the one who forms a full sundae in his mouth before leaving though. Whatever, he gets kidnapped to be a purple extension of the merchandise. Meanwhile, the predictable couple-to-be continue on their mission, where they encounter this violent chicken in order to facilitate an alien chest-popping reference that I swear every major animation studio has touched at this point. Shrek 2 being the best one, with the arcade machine in the OG Toy Story a close second. Anyway, slapstick ensues until what they think is the serum turns out to be
The formula for the Krabby Patty!
leading to more action hijinks and the minions being pervy towards Lucy. Oh. Yeah, I knew those boys weren't right. You've heard it here first. There's been a cover-up around the minions because they're too valuable to the company. Meanwhile, the other minions fall to someone else's creepy playbook. It's the classic ice cream truck ploy, with the minions being taken and tricked child catcher style. We also have the harassment gags going with this Home Alone 2 style butt-slapping moment, followed by Gru's spy work going so well that his daughters are able to find him immediately.
Well, we thought we'd come visit you at work.
Because that's exactly what a spy wants their family to do. Whatever. It's in there so that the girls meet Lucy and they can pine over fantasies over her being their mum for the rest of the movie.
Are you single?
Lucky her. What am I saying? She'll just go along with that at the end of the movie. No questions asked, won't she?
You love her. You love her. You really love her.
Why is that played as an everyone looking at the weird thing moment? It's just a little girl talking. Get over yourselves, weird Illumination NPCs. Love is apparently in the air across this movie, with Margot taken by some moody kid who ingratiates himself quite quickly.
Cool glasses.
A lot of forward behavior going on in this movie. And accent in tow, you'll never guess who his dad is. Meanwhile, Gru meets yet another stereotype villain in the form of
Welcome to Eagle Hair Club.
in which we have a sequence featuring a device that means Gru has to thrust against the walls. I'm starting to see a picture happening here. Gru desists on the wall thrusting in order to police Margot's love life instead. Yeah, is that kind of dad trope we're going with here.
Date? Boyfriend? What?
though weirdly makes more sense for Gru's character considering he's a romantophobic. Can't believe that Despicable Me 2 is one of the few examples where this trope actually makes some sense. And then, another forward gesture as El Macho just pulls some lady off the street.
Kids eat free on Tuesdays.
Hey there, you've made it to the halfway mark of this video. You know what to do, come subscribe already if you're interested in more terrible Illumination movies. And others. It's not as bad as Despicable Me 4, but it's not as good as Despicable Me 1 either. So if I had to pick between amazing and terrible, it's terrible. Anyway, back to the second half of the terrible Despicable Me 2.
Kids eat free on Tuesdays.
The cheek stroke as well. What is with this movie? As for the inevitable reveal,
Oh, I see you have already met my father.
preceded by him pushing them towards each other?
Young love is beautiful, no?
Convincing them into coming along to a party, Gru decides he's not having any of it.
Arrest him immediately and his deviously charming son.
Taking the overprotective dad arc to a whole new level, really. Still, doesn't mean it's not a done-to-death trope, but hey, they took it to the extreme, I guess. Some of the old villain Gru's still in there somewhat. Meanwhile, it's now time to see where those kidnapped minions got to. And they're all on the beach having a great time. There does seem to be a consistent undertone in this movie I hadn't really acknowledged until now. But there it is. There it is.
We need to revisit the number of vacation days you guys get.
Some credit I'll give is that they do acknowledge the employment of the minions throughout these movies, rather than them being, you know, slaves. Like, even the jam and jelly business at the start acknowledges that Gru doesn't have a bottomless pit of money. Though I'd still wager he's living off of a fortune that was founded in his villainous ways, and because he did a good thing, he faces zero accountability. I bet he still doesn't pay his taxes either, the swine.
I have my friend Shannon here with me. I was thinking you two could get some grub.
I'm presuming through school run, but why is he even friends with this human? Got a feel for her though. She literally just exists to force feed Gru potential dates he doesn't want. That's no way to live.
There's no way you're getting out of this.
Ah, jeez, just leave the guy alone. Like, you just turn up to his house with this woman ready for him? Who is this character? Of course, as we've established, single parents have to go along with this kind of stuff against their will, so that's exactly what he does.
Physical fitness is very important to Shannon.
And this is obviously also a restaurant that serves Lucy's takeout of choice. Apparently, there's not many restaurants in this neighborhood, with half its plot set in a mall, so she could be there to see Gru with his date. What are the chances?
How's the food?
And Gru's wig falls off too, never saw that coming. Which this Shannon character deals with in the best written way possible.
I knew it. You're a phony. I hate phony.
Well done, Illumination, another well-conceived comedy character. And as Lucy stops this awful character concept removing Gru's wig with a blow dart, you'll never guess where it lands. Would not expect anything less from this movie. Gru and Lucy then have a bonding scene over carrying this drugged woman home. Ain't that sweet? It does have a sort of energy of Shrek and Fiona bonding scenes, just with an unconscious woman thrown in the mix. And then she's paralyzed for the rest of her life. Maybe I was too hard on her. She just didn't know the boundaries around people with wigs. The actual exchanges between Gru and Lucy, though, are pretty sweet.
Just between you and me, you look much better bald.
You do buy into their chemistry, and like many franchises that outstay their welcome, it never gets better than it does in this movie. Just diminishing returns after this one. I mentioned Ice Age 2 doing a similar plot earlier, and we all know what happened there. And with a wholesome kiss on the cheek for Gru, that's our cue to launch into the song that took over 2013 by force. You could see why this movie was a monster hit. This song was mind-numbingly inescapable that summer. Then you throw in the Minions as well. This was definitely the year that Illumination became a dollar beast. And not just that studio that made the one movie people liked and the terrible Easter Bunny movie. Weird to say, but Pharrell Williams definitely played his part in the success of this franchise. Shame he couldn't share that magic with his Lego biopic. That was a moment that happened, remember? But here we get his room-splitting hit that powers Gru's little I Gotta Kiss sequence. Wholesome stuff, look at the guy absolutely buzzing. Featuring another cameo of the cast of Migration. I know it isn't, they weren't even aware they'd made that movie when it came out, let alone back in 2013. It's a sweet sequence though, and does capture that buzz you get from first making that initial connection with someone. But of course, it's soon subverted, with Mr. Ramming Bottom on the scene to C-Block Gru.
And it looks like Agent Wild will be transferring to our Australian branch.
It's always Australia in these situations. Want to up the potential of two characters? Relocate one to Australia. It couldn't be further away from you. I wonder what Australia's version of Australia is. Well, anyway. Yes, as you can see, we're sticking right to the formula with this story, even leaving the appropriate wiggle room for the end of the movie.
Well, it's not definite yet. Still figuring it out.
There we are. What? I'm sure she ends up going. What are you talking about? I do like, though, the contrast of Gru taking the same walk back, but in the rain, acting towards everyone like the Gru of Oldwood. Until...
I brought you an umbrella.
In fact, this whole scene stands out particularly, as we actually have a more personal moment between Gru and Agnes here than I think we get across the rest of the franchise.
Remember when you said that I liked Lucy? You're right.
It's nice to have this moment where you get this clear father and daughter moment. It almost makes you wonder if they would have benefited from just having one adopted daughter character as opposed to 3. I mean, there is stuff with Margot too, but Edith, what do we know about her? I love how the middle child character is treated by the writers in the most middle child way possible. Absolutely no attention whatsoever. I think she had 2 lines earlier. Where even is she? If anything, just having an older and a younger character may have allowed more storytelling possibilities. But this brief scene's nice anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. We also get a suitably Gru version of trying to phone up for a date, in which he gives up and blasts the phone with a flamethrower. A pilgrimage now lost in the age of the dating app. No need for this stressful rite of passage, just irritate someone in a chat box instead. Can't help but feel that maybe we'd be in a better place if people still had to actually speak to people they wanted to date. Less hot dogs flying into DMs, if you know what I'm saying. We then head back to the Minion Paradise Island, where it's time to get purple. You do have to wonder why this big elaborate island was built just to kidnap them again from said island. But yes, the purple minion gimmick has finally arrived. You saw it in the posters, and now it's here. How long into the movie? Speaking of iconography from this movie, it's time for what will lead us to the famous Nacho hat. But first, some interesting dialogue in response to Gru's concerns of boundaries.
There are no rules, senor.
I'm sorry, what? This kid needs to be put on a list. Sad about his daughter being estranged by this creepy teenager, it's now time for Nacho Hat. And I'm sure there's a video out there on how to make that as well. That and the Lightyear reverse sandwich.
It is the look of the broken heart.
How did you know?
With El Macho showing up again in solid third act territory, it is inevitable that we finally find out he's the real villain.
There's much more to us than meets the eye.
Wow, what? No, really? I thought it was the Wigs guy who got caught and the main plot just finished earlier. To which, right in front of Gru, he proceeds to shadily sneak into the corridor and cover up his tracks really poorly. But hey, there's some fun slapstick with Gru trying to dance the right password on the weird Just Dance entrance. Hot take here, I find the slapstick with Gru funnier than the Minion stuff, generally. In this movie, at least. Quite roguely, I really enjoy Minions 2 as just a fun slapstick comedy. I don't make the rules of my taste, leave me alone. It's a weird one, I know. Meanwhile, Lucy's already on the plane to Australia. But not to worry, after a Shrek the Third-esque vision of everyone having Gru's face, she decides that's the guy for me and just jumps out of a plane. That's how it goes in this bombastic universe with Shark Volcano McGee as the antagonist. Speaking of which...
You are El Macho!
That's right!
To be fair, it would have been a ballsy move to just have a guy who looked like the El Macho flashback and then just turned out to have nothing to do with the main plot. That's the thing to me. The stuff with Lucy's cute enough, but again, there isn't really much to say about what they've been doing up until now. If you were gonna do the murder mystery thing, you pepper in clues. We had no real build to this. It was quite apparent early on it was gonna be him, with the only attempt to add mystery was the one other introduced shopkeeper taking the blame. But there is one twist that would at least surprise the young audience.
Dr. Nefario?
Nice to see you, Gru.
Yes, in a shock twist, Russell Brand is evil. And Nefario's the one turning his former co-workers purple. And now they are indestructible, Kevin eating a whole police car being a particular highlight. And a reminder of the world we're living in.
Men like you, men like me, should be ruling the world!
Oh boy. To which Gru attempts a little weasel out.
Totally in.
I'm not so convinced that he is in.
And right on cue, the son's a butthole too.
I hate boys.
It's for the best, I think. And obviously, just as he leaves, Lucy arrives just in time to play damsel in distress.
You're coming with me.
Bit of a shame, to be honest. She seemed to be a bit of a break from that archetype, giving Gru the opportunity to badass hero at her expense.
He's got Lucy?
Not for long.
Okay, it's the formula. The point of view sequence from the rabid minions, pretty creative though. A little chase scene to give the girls some agency in this finale, swiftly followed by the reveal of the antidote. Easy plot point for resolution, job done.
Courses! These guys captured me!
For this third act, the Jekyll minions do actually function pretty well as an obstacle for this sequence. For a minute, at least. It's very quickly resolved. Albeit with some payoffs for the jelly business gag at the start. Wasn't on my laundry list on things we needed to make this good, but okay. And Lucy's tied up in full damsel mode, because of course she is.
One push of this button, and I send that rocket straight into the same volcano where I faked my death.
I know he's meant to be an over-the-top villain, but I don't think we have a read on who this guy is in the same way we did with Vector. With his family and his restaurant, there was actually a lot of potential of why he might have left the game and then got in with a genuine motivation. Honestly, I thought that was the situation here. It would have been so easy to give him a plot that helped his family in some way, but instead we get this generic take over the world shtick without really a clear idea of motivation. I'm not expecting a tragic backstory from Despicable Me, don't get me wrong. It's just frustrating when you see the groundwork where they could have done better. Like, Vector's not that deep, but we get who he is. It's why people were excited when he came back in that Moon short. This guy has a family and hung up villainy for his restaurant, so where's his story with that? That should have been interesting. Yet they do absolutely nothing with it. He just turns into a purple yeti.
I am not afraid of your jelly guns.
What a waste. And then we have this weird moment where Lucy does the go on without me speech as Gru comes to untie her.
Don't worry about me, Gru. I have survived. Lots worse than this.
I get it's to build to her getting blasted into the air, but it just seems weird to throw that line in at the point where it seems like he's literally untying her. But no, it's time for one final move from the chicken. Hey Hey's evil cousin, maybe. And off we go, finale on a rocket, featuring consumption of protected species. Whatever, it was strapped to a rocket, it was probably already dead. And in the face of death, Gru decides this is his time to shoot his shot.
If I'd asked you out on a date, what would you have said?
Would he have just kept them on there if she said no? What was that about? Of course she says yes, and they jump into the water just in time, with the briefest fake-out drowning of all time.
Lucy! Oh, Lucy!
And we're all good to wrap this little story, specifically 147 days further into the story. Is that the metric of long enough for them to decide to get married? Because that's what happens. 21 weeks. Almost 5 months. It's the difference between January 1st and May 29th. Anyway, it includes this boy band pastiche from the Minions. Sure, they didn't have to get them married up at the end, really. But that's what they do, going on the Disney formula there. But let's cut them some slack. This came out 4 months before Frozen, so I guess they didn't get the memo yet. Complete with Magnus inducting her into the mum contract as well. Kinda comes with marrying a guy who's already a dad, but wow, that was a busy 147 days for her to just accept all that. I'm not exactly looking for realism in these movies, but we jump from Gru not even being able to ask her out on a date to marriage by the end of May. Like, lower the kids' expectations, please. Maybe even making them finally have their first date in the end. You could have still even worked in the weird Minions boy band pastiche still. Ah well, the script makes sure she's happy enough about this situation, and we end off with yet more Minions musical parody. This time as the Village People. And the joke is literally just them dressed as the Village People singing in their nonsense language. This is pretty much most of the Minion joke, really. Whatever, I know some people find it funny. We then go on to some credits where they've already been advertising the next movie with Minion Movies auditions. The commerce never ends. And that's the movie. That's Despicable Me too. That's why I don't think it is that good. It has some good moments, admittedly, but ultimately, we have a pretty dull plot that doesn't do anything with either its mystery or its central villain, which they actually set up to have a far better backstory than they ended up giving him. There are just a handful of scenes that save this movie, whether that's Gru and the girls, and some of the Lucy and Gru stuff that I thought was pretty cute, and Gru as a character overall is the big thing that makes the movie, really. Steve Carell is as great as ever. That's it. I don't even really laugh at the Minions in this one, and I weirdly loved their second movie. But maybe I do just look at them more cynically now that we're 6 movies into the franchise. I don't know. I get the sense, though, that a lot of people do particularly like it, especially if you grew up with it. And I can see why. There are all sorts of likable moments. But I need a little bit more for it to actually be a good or great movie. I just don't think the story's that good, and it's all just an empty vessel for Gru and Lucy's relationship. Which, when you compare it to the first movie, where adopting the girls directly fed into the plot with Vector, there's just really not much comparison. It's just not as good, which only took us on a downward spiral for the subsequent 2 mainline movies all the more. But I'm sure we'll cover them all eventually on this terrible series. For now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do tell me your thoughts on Despicable Me 2. What would you add to El Macho to make it, you know, better? Or tell me any tweaks or defenses you have with this movie. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and more. And I shall see you all in a little bit. Cheerio!